In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by a legal analyst to break down the latest on Trump and what may come next. Here's Stephanie.
So, Allison, talk to us. You were so good on all these details. I mean, you were saying, obviously, this is what we expected, legal experts, but it's also exactly what you hoped for. Tell us why. You were starting to, before we came on a little bit.
Well, as my dream scenario, and I've talked to you about this, I've talked to everybody on my podcast about this, was that Jack would go to the Supreme Court, leapfrog over the D.C. Circuit. Supreme Court would say no. D.C. Circuit would hear it. D.C. Circuit would say no immunity, give him a very short period of time to petition the Supreme Court. And that's where we are now.
Yeah.
And now I hope that the Supreme Court does not issue a stay, does not grant cert, and will not hear this case. Because that means that the D.C. proceedings will resume this Monday.
Right.
That's fast. Now, Supreme Court could grant a stay, could give a decision. They would have a decision out by June, which would push the trial back quite a bit. But this is a solid, very solid decision on the merits. They decided and agreed that they did have jurisdiction, which was what I thought might take them so long. And so they've come to the conclusion that they have jurisdiction. They made a decision on the merits. It's per curiam, which means they all are in agreement. It's unanimous. This will be very difficult for the Supreme Court to try to intervene on, because they generally don't intervene in cases that are pretty solidly decided. So we'll see what happens, but we are 3/4 of the way to my dream scenario.
And they did finally listen to Andrew Weissman, who said, snap-a-doodle. Let's go with this. That's a legal term, snap-a-doodle. Let's go.
Yes, term of art.
Well, except that's what people were saying about why it took so long. They wanted it to be unanimous. They wanted it to be bulletproof. So, again, it's anyone's guess in terms of in the Supreme Court. Obviously, the oral arguments that start Thursday. We've got Glenn Kirshner saying he thinks they are going to rule that he can't be on the ballot. And we just played Dan Abrams, who said, they absolutely aren't going to rule that. So, I mean, we are just in a legal Wild West, aren't we? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, yeah, we've never been in this position before because we've never had such a criminally culpable former president. So, I think we've run out of adjectives.
Yeah.
And we need, the thesaurus is out of adjectives for unprecedented, and now we're just Wild West. I like it. We're Wild Westing it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that. I'm running out of words to describe this Republican Party and Trump. I mean, and we were talking about the ballot case. I mean, none of this makes any sense, right? I mean, as you pointed out, by the way, of course he said he was an officer of the court when he wanted the DOJ to defend him against E.Jean Carroll. But, now he's not an officer of the court. I mean, and I'm sorry, I don't know what my other point was just about this whole, how the 14th Amendment reads, that you can run or be elected president, but you can't serve as president. So we're headed for a train wreck. It looks like to me. What do you think?
Yeah, now we're talking about the Supreme Court arguments this Thursday, right?
Yeah.
About, Yeah, it's going to be weird because there's really no logical reason to put them on the ballot, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Supreme Court does that, because I think they will try to keep them on the ballot, but they just don't have a good argument to do it. There's zero good argument to do it, because like you said, if they do the whole argument that, he can't hold office, but he can run for office, well, then you're saying that a 17-year-old can run for president, be elected, and then we have to overturn the will of the people and pull him out, throw it to Congress, and we have a whole possible constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
So that would be stupid. I don't think the Supreme Court will do that. But they're in it now. They have to make a decision. The only correct decision is to keep him off the ballot. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these, howler monkeys decide to try to make that not happen. I don't know. And I also, of course, am always concerned about, the Kavanaughs and the Alitos and the Thomases of the world when we're talking about this immunity cert. Will they continue to stay the D.C. proceeding because they want to, swing their robes into it? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I just like that. Almost as much as I like en banc. En banc.
En banc.
It's two words.
It's just fun to say.
It's 2 words.
And it's spelled B-A-N-K. Q.
C.
C.
En banc.
Yeah. Not bong.
It just seems like something Al Kabong would say.
On the bong. Yes. I am on the bong. That is what
On the bong. There you go.
So all 12 of us are taking hits.
Speaking of hits, oh my God, you're as big a Tracy Chapman fan as I am. You still, over the Grammy.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a fun fact, Chris. The first woman that broke my heart, that was my song "Fast Car." I remember that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was Tracy
and
Chapman.
crying in my apartment in Buffalo.
Oh.
She was
Yeah, and
fantastic.
to all the haters, okay, Celine Dion has a no contact rider. That's why Taylor Swift didn't run up and hug her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful night for women, for music. It was incredible. Just,
Yeah,
I
I
have
have
an
that here,
extreme-
by the way, too. I have that as well. And
Yeah,
when
we're not allowed to
when
touch
they touch
her.
me by accident,
Yeah.
I just, I'm allowed to,
She's over touchy.
punch them.
I'm electrified, so if anyone
Yeah.
touches
Oh, really?
yeah.
That's smart.
That's good to know.
That's smart.
Yeah. Yes, he said, I'm so excited for all the folks being introduced to Tracy Chapman for the first time tonight. Her music was an integral part of my early teens.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And you were talking. Both Sides Now was my favorite song when I was a kid. Joni Mitchell. Yeah, we were just saying it feels like kind of a magical week.
Bad week for Donald.
Yeah, Donald, is ketchup hit the fan yet? Have we?
I'm checking.
troughs?
I'm checking. This is not a good week, bad week for him. It's a bad week for him.
Yeah. And
Well, he certainly convinced a good portion, if not all, of his super cult followers that presidents should have immunity, or if every president, every former president would be indicted. I'm like,
Right.
well, we've got 4 living presidents. Let's go ask them if they're inundated with indictments.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but that's addressed in this
Yes.
decision too.
yeah,
so
they
I'm
do rule
excited.
for immunity. We'll be like, go nuts, Dark Brandon.
Exactly. I mean, how are they supposed to rule?
I mean, Allison, I was so struck by having you today, not just the immunity ruling, but just back to your original podcast, Mueller, she wrote. This whole border thing and Ukraine bill, David Frum said, Speaker Johnson does what Trump wants and Trump does what Putin wants. Mm-hmm. And here we are. I mean, as you know, Andrew Weissman, from his book, Paul Manafort, Trump's second campaign manager, met with a Putin ally to discuss a proposed deal that would have allowed Russia to annex a part of Ukraine. This was done with Trump's implicit approval. I mean, this is the biggest, dumbest, most obvious plot that you've been talking about from whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I know, you're that person on Twitter said that, I carried water for Mueller, but if anyone had actually paid attention to his testimony, all roads lead to Putin with Donald Trump. And it keeps playing out over and over again. And here we are. So it's, we did have a couple of successful prosecutions come out of the Mueller investigation. But then, of course, we had a non-immune president pardon all those people.
By the way, you point to some other, just a lot of, because we can use all the good news we can get, but you just said breaking court dismisses Republican lawsuit challenging New York law that expands mail-in voting opportunities. Elise Stefanik and the GOP lose again. Victory for the DCCC and voters in New York. I mean, first of all, can I say God bless Mark Elias?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Where would we be without him?
Right.
Yeah.
I shudder to think.
Mm-hmm.
And also, God bless E. Jean Carroll, because now we have changed the definition of rape in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It used to be so narrow, much like the gentleman who perpetrated it, and that left any LGBTQ plus person in there,
Yeah.
and because of E. Jean Carroll, her bravery,
Yeah.
her willingness to stand up to this man, where no one else, except for like maybe Cassidy Hutchinson and a handful of other people, have been
Mainly
brave
women.
enough.
Women. Yeah.
We have now changed the definition of rape in New York, and so
I
New
said
York
that from day one. I cannot imagine anybody being penetrated with anything against their will would not consider it rape.